That first 15 minutes of Daredevil Born Again did not have to go that hard. What's going on, Marvelites? Today we are talking about episodes 1 and 2 of Daredevil Born Again. This new series is, of course, following up on the Netflix Daredevil series, which started in 2015 and ran 3 seasons through 2018. And since then, we have seen Matt Murdock and Daredevil make their appearance in various MCU projects, including Spider-Man No Way Home, She-Hulk, and Echo. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did not watch the original Daredevil series on Netflix when it came out. So within the last 2 months, I have binged all 3 seasons in preparation for this new Daredevil Born Again series. And I gotta say, after watching those 3 original seasons, along with these first 2 episodes, Daredevil Born Again is off to a great start and is the perfect blend of the original Netflix vibes with the MCU. The first 15 minutes of any new show is, of course, about reeling those viewers in, and I think they really did that by, of course, reminiscing on the relationship between Matt, Karen, and Foggy. But even if you didn't watch the original Netflix show, there was enough action happening that you were drawn in and you wanted to know more of the story. And I mean, Marvel, come on, you really had to do our boy like that within the first 15 minutes? Like really? I was definitely not expecting that. And you just had to go and do that? Like, I get all about making room for new characters while also tying up kind of loose ends-ish from the original series, but damn. Like, in the first 15 minutes, you couldn't at least wait till, like, maybe the end of episode 1? Come on. Again, that first 15 minutes is great for anyone who watched the original series on Netflix because we get to see Karen, Matt, and Foggy all interacting at Josie's bar. We even get to see a little bit of reignited chemistry between Karen and Matt in that first scene. However, we're not exactly sure how much more we're going to see of Karen and if that chemistry is even going to be kind of brought up again later in the series. Who knows? Only time will tell. Within that first 15 minutes, we also get a callback to one of the main villains within season 3 of the Netflix series, Ben Poindexter, better known as Bullseye. Bullseye was an FBI agent who was originally tasked with patrol of Wilson Fisk during his house arrest. However, Fisk eventually persuades him to be part of his team, but Matt eventually shows Bullseye that the leopards will still eat your face, and Bullseye ends up turning on Fisk. Now, at the end of season 3, Bullseye gets seriously injured and we see him on an operating room table. And I won't say much more about that because it was left open-ended for future seasons of that show, but I do think that that operating room scene has something to do with the fact that he was pushed off that building in the first 15 minutes of this first episode, and he still is alive. And it all has to do with a specific metal, and again, I'm not going to talk much more about that. We'll just let that unfold as the season goes. Speaking of Wilson Fisk, of course, we've got plenty of him in these first 2 episodes. We also get to see his wife, Vanessa, and clearly there is some sort of rift happening between them, especially in that first episode. You can't really tell what's going on, but Wilson Fisk almost seems like he's afraid of Vanessa, and we learn a little bit more later on as episode 2 rolls along that clearly they're having some issues as they both opt for couples therapy. I think one of the great things though is that when we see Fisk and Vanessa on screen, we get a lot of weaving of other MCU projects within this series, helping us fill in gaps and kind of what's going on within the timeline and within this world. In that first episode, we have Vanessa doing some sort of deal with the Tracksuit Mafia, and the Tracksuit Mafia was highly involved within the Hawkeye series. We also learn that some of the problems that are between Vanessa and Wilson Fisk are because Fisk spent some time away from the business, which made Vanessa pretty much take everything on her own. It was pretty much hinted at that Fisk was away because of what happened within the series of Echo. They even mentioned that Wilson was attacked by a vigilante, and we even get to see that scar on his eye, and all of that again is alluding to what happened in the series Echo. At some point in one of these 2 episodes, I believe when Fisk is being interviewed, he also mentions other vigilantes, not necessarily by name, but he definitely calls out the Punisher and Spider-Man. This is, of course, all on the back of one of the platforms that Fisk is running on and eventually wins to become mayor of New York City, is being very anti-vigilante. This is very akin and pretty much taken right out of the Charles Soule run of Daredevil within the comics. And within that series, we do get another vigilante for a short time called Muse, and we know that we are going to see Muse within this series, although we necessarily haven't seen them just yet. However, I do believe we have seen who Muse is going to be when Heather, the psychologist that Matt is like dating now, when she has like her her little book release tour kind of thing, and people are coming up to her afterwards and asking if she's still taking new clients. There was someone specifically who asked if she was taking new clients, and that interaction was there and very specific, and I believe that that person is going to end up being Muse. What I do think is going to happen, because we do know that she takes on Wilson Fisk and Vanessa as clients, I believe that their caseload is just going to end up taking too much of her time, and she's eventually not going to be able to take on Muse or the person behind Muse as a client. The biggest thing that I'm seeing that people are hating on is the fact that we didn't really get to see Matt in a Daredevil suit. And I just can't get behind that. Like, why are you complaining about it? They're doing what is often done in the comics, where they're pretty much running this collision course, or going to be a collision course, between Matt and Wilson Fisk. But right now, both of these men, Matt and Fisk, are trying to be someone that they're not. And we see that happen again within these first 2 episodes. Matt is trying to forget his Daredevil persona. He's trying to move on. Now that Karen and Foggy are pretty much out of his life for the most part, he's got a new law firm. He's trying to be a new man, trying to put that Daredevil persona part of his life to the side. And the same thing could be said with Kingpin. Kingpin said to Vanessa, he's like, I need to be a different man. I can't run the business. I can't do the things that I was doing if I want and am going to be mayor of New York City. But we all know that this is not who they are. They are going to end up reverting back to their true self. And we saw that happen, where they're starting to revert back to their true selves, mainly in episode 2. Regarding Matt was pretty much at the end of episode 2, in that final scene where he fought those 2 dirty cops, which, by the way, did you peep that Punisher logo on that dirty cop's forearm? I love that Marvel was like, all of you Punisher loving cops, y'all about to learn that Punisher actually hates you. He hates for what you stand for and what you do, and he doesn't want you using his logo. Marvel is trying to get that point across real hard, and I love it, and I'm here for it. Also, that whole fight scene was absolutely dope. Like, so good. I loved it. It was so good. But anyway, I digress. So we see Matt kind of reverting back to his old ways in that fight scene, and at the end, he lets out that primal yell, which we've seen plenty of times before within the Netflix series. And then Fisk reverts back to his old ways when he was initially threatened by the police commissioner, and then the police commissioner comes in to hand in his resignation, but Fisk is like, well, it would be a real shame if your family got hurt, and he shows them that obviously he's had surveillance on the police commissioner's family, so the police commissioner then decides to not resign right now, although he still has it out for Fisk a little bit, and I think something bad's going to happen to the police commissioner and or his family. Over the next few episodes, we're going to continue to see kind of Matt and Fisk kind of revert back to trying to be someone that they're not, but they're going to continue to get pushed and pushed and pushed until they actually become their true selves. And again, we're going to have this collision course this entire season, probably with Matt and Fisk pretty much mirroring each other until they collide and something significant happens. My biggest gripe with these first 2 episodes really happened within the first 15 minutes and probably only lasted, I don't know, less than a minute. And it happened to be the fight scene between Daredevil and Bullseye. And it has nothing to do with the fight scene. I thought the fight scene was excellent. It had to do mainly with Daredevil swinging around and kind of moving through from place to place with those transitions on like the rooftops. And it has nothing to do with him swinging. I'm totally okay with him swinging, as we've kind of seen some of that within the comics. I think the biggest thing for me is that the CGI just wasn't that great. I don't know how else to describe it. I just think it could have been cleaned up a little bit more and a little bit more polished. That's literally my biggest gripe with the first 2 episodes, and it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it lasted again for 40 seconds, if that. I mean, we even got some introductions to new characters, one being Kirsten McDuffie, who is obviously Matt's partner at the law firm. Shout out to CJ Wrights on Threads. I had no idea that Kirsten McDuffie actually had a role within the comics, specifically Mark Waid's run, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out. We also have a new character, BB Urich, who is obviously the niece of Ben Urich, and Ben Urich was a reporter in season 1 of Daredevil, and Ben was such a really good character. And let me just say that Kingpin definitely knew who Ben Urich was. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but he definitely knew who Ben Urich was. And probably one of the newest and biggest characters that looks like they're going to have a pivotal role within the rest of this series is going to be Hector Ayala, also known as White Tiger. Again, shout out to CJ Wrights on Threads, who posted this last night, that pretty much the White Tiger's current kind of plotline within this series is being pulled directly from the comics, specifically Brian Michael Bendis' run. So again, go ahead and check that out. Make sure you also check out CJ Wrights on Threads. He's very knowledgeable and awesome guy, totally worth the follow. If you want to learn more about the White Tiger, make sure you go ahead and check this video out right here. If you've made it this far in the video, I truly appreciate you being here. Do that YouTube thing, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss another video. And until the next video, Excelsior.